Good morning, church family. Today we are continuing through our Deep Dive Daily Devo video series, and we are currently in the book of Colossians, and that is where we will continue this morning. Today's passage is plainly and clearly just a revelation of who Christ is. It's a reminder to us. If we look at these verses, it's Paul just setting the stage, and this is who Christ is. These are his attributes. This is why Christ should be so important to the life of a believer. It draws my mind to a quote from A.W. Tozer, a theologian, a man who is very studied in the Word. And what he writes is, what comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. Worship is pure or base as the worshiper entertains high or low thoughts of God. For this reason, the gravest question before the church is always God himself, and the most portentous fact about any man is not what he at a given time may say or do, but what he in his deep heart conceives God to be like. And what this reveals to us, what Tozer is sharing is, as a believer, as a person, my life is heavily dictated by my view of God, and thus my view of my Savior, Jesus Christ. If we view God, or if we view our Savior Jesus Christ, who saved us, who performed the work of the gospel that allows us to live a life of righteousness no longer defined by sin, if we don't view that with proper magnitude and reverence, we will not live in the freedom we are given, and we will not live a life truly glorifying of God. And that's why we read these verses in Colossians chapter 1, and some verses like verse 15, where it's revealing he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. Whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through him and for him. And he's before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is the head of the body, the church. He's the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in everything he might be preeminent. For in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether on earth or in heaven, making peace by the blood of his cross. These verses, these words are revealing to us Jesus is fully God and fully man. God is made visible in the person of Jesus. He's full deity. We cannot forget that Jesus, as full deity, is fully God, as a part of that Trinity. He was a part of creation. He was a part of all things being created for his glory. He's above it all. We can't forget that he's fully God. He is our creator. He is who we should be seeking after. He's the head of us, the church, the redeemed people. He brings us from separation from God to be able to dwell in relationship with God. It is so important for us as believers to read these verses and to truly see, this is the God I serve. This is the Savior that died for me. Because I think all too often we can lull ourselves into a low view of God and a low view of Jesus, our Savior. We can put too much effort on ourselves and take away what is done in the work of Christ. And what we must remember in these verses is that Jesus is full deity, fully God, completely glorified, creator, all-powerful, and he is the one who carried out the work to redeem us. And for us to truly walk in righteousness, for us to truly walk in relationship with God and in freedom, we must walk with a proper view of Christ and a proper view of our God. And that's why these verses are important, is that Christ must be above all, and I must daily re-examine how I view Christ and make sure it is with proper reverence. And then the final verses of our section today, verses 21 through 23, and this is carrying on from just a proper view of the character of Christ as being a part of creation, as being fully God, as being all-powerful, leader of the church. And then it just leads to where I was at, what he'd done for me, and it's the final reminder of the character of Christ that I must dwell upon. Starting in verse 21, and you who once were alienated and hostile in mind, doing evil deeds, he is now reconciled in his body of flesh by his death, in order to present you holy and blameless and above reproach before him. If indeed you continue in the faith, stable and steadfast, not shifting from the hope of the gospel that you heard, which has been proclaimed in all creation under heaven, and of which I, Paul, became a minister. It is so important for us to remember we were hostile, we were sinful, we were doing evil. It is only by Christ, in our proper viewing of him, in our proper and complete surrender and faith in his work and the hope of the gospel which he carried out, that we can find ourselves able to draw near to God and draw near to that throne of grace, knowing that he considers us now holy and blameless in his redeeming work, not anything we do. So as church family, let's dwell on these verses. Let's dwell on the revealed character of Christ and how he is above all, and most importantly, that he should be ruler of our life, and he should be someone that we view with a great reverence and magnitude, so that we truly carry out a life glorifying him and one that rests so fully in what he's done for us. Thank you, church family. Have a great day.